Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. My name is Brother Rami, and today we're going to be talking about the forgotten sunnah of keeping your marriage healthy and happy and keeping the love alive. So I'll give you a quick story. One time, actually in the Ford's Masjid in MCNJ, after a breakfast club, there was a table tennis game. And I was watching this game, from the sidelines. And something very interesting happened. So there were four brothers playing. And as they were playing, and it was going in this order, so one of the brothers, he had just recently gotten married. And every 5 minutes as he's playing, he picks up the phone and calls his wife and, "Hey, honey, oh yes, I love you. Okay, honey, I'll be home soon." And he picks up again 5 minutes later, "Hey, honey, how are you?" Right? Newly married guy. And subhanAllah, as the game kept going, the next brother, who was married about 8 years, and he had 2 kids at the time, and he's playing, and his wife will call him, and he'll pick up the phone and say, "Okay, I'll get the milk." Okay, and hangs up, goes back to playing. Waits for her to call again. "Okay, yeah, I'll be home soon, sure." Hangs up again. And as it's happening again in this order, the third brother gets a call. He's been married like over 15 years. He gets a call. He looks at it. He's like, "I'll get it later." And the fourth brother, who's been married over 20 years, he never got a phone call. So this is just a joke about, sometimes what happens in the progression of marriage. And as you spend more and more time with your spouse, and sometimes you have your kids who add an extra bit of, flavor into that marriage. The Prophet ﷺ, for example, he always kept the love alive in his marriage. And I'll give you one quick example. When he first received the message from Jibreel, he had already been married for about 10 years. And think about it, as soon as he gets this message, he's frightened. Who is the first person that he turns to? He turns to Khadija, his wife. He turns to her and says, "Zamiluni, Zamiluni, cover me," right? And this is an amazing part that I just want to take out of this story. That after 10 years of being married to who is the love of his life and will become the love of his life for the rest of his life, he still felt that she was the person who he felt the most comfort with, and the most person that he can turn to. And I hope, inshallah, that we can do this also in our marriages. That no matter how long we've married, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, that we'll always look at our spouses as a source of comfort and as a source of sakina that they should be. So I'll give you a couple of reasons why. So 2 reasons why. Number 1, why am I talking about? Why is this such an important sunnah that we should be talking about? Number 1, because marriage is half of our religion, as we know. Half. You think about it. 50% of your religion is just getting married. SubhanAllah. So this is an extremely important part of our daily lives, of our religious lives, is how our marriage is. If we have a happy marriage and a good marriage and a loving marriage, then it'll be easier for us to be good in the deen. It'll easier for us to pray, easier for us to do good deeds when we feel this love and connection and cooperation with our spouses. And number 2, for our kids. Okay, you might be saying, brother, don't even forget it. It's over for me. Like there's no way that we're going to spark it again, right? But think about it. For your kids, this is just as important, because you don't want your kids to be in an environment where there's constant fighting. There's nothing worse for a child than growing up in a house full of conflict, full of fighting, full of yelling. It's better for a child to grow up in a house where he sees his parents cooperating, he sees his parents loving each other, and inshallah this will pass on to him in so many ways that we can't even imagine. So maybe even for yourself, you said, all right, forget it. But for our kids and how they see us, it's very important, inshallah, that we do this. So I'm going to give you 4 advices, inshallah, to go forward. Number 1, Number one, you might not like it, but the number one thing that we can do. So I'm going to give you something daily that you could do, something weekly that you could do, something monthly that you can do, inshallah. So we'll start with something daily. Every day, inshallah, I want you to hug your wife or your husband 4 times a day and tell them I love you. You might be thinking, oh my God. No, this is really true. This is from a book that I had read for men only. And he talked about how, you might love your wife, but saying it verbally is just as important for her to hear. That to say I love you is music to her ears. It's reassurance, even though you might show it in other ways. So when are you going to do this 4 times? When you get up in the morning, hug your wife, tell her I love you. Before you go to work, hug your wife, tell her I love you. When you get back from work, or when you're during this COVID crisis and you're home all day, around 5 o'clock, hug your wife, tell her I love you. And before you go to bed, hug your wife and tell her I love you. If you have not done if this is hard for you, just do it 1 time a day, inshallah. Just figure out 1 time a day where you can hug your wife and tell her sincerely, I love you. And you might be thinking, you know what? I don't feel that way. I've been married for so long and, this conflict. But inshallah, if you say it, if you're trying to do it, maybe inshallah it'll come true. Maybe inshallah it'll re-spark something that wasn't there before. So try it at least once, inshallah, if you haven't done it. And for extra credit, do it 4 times a day. So that's your daily routine. Now, maybe weekly or maybe more than once a week, that's number 2, is to do something special for your husband or wife. And it doesn't have to be big. My friend, he told me that he made his wife cry. The most time his wife ever got emotional when he did something for her. It cost him literally like a few cents. He took a Post-it note and he put I love you, and he put it on the visor of her car. So when she got in the car and she lowered her visor to look at her in the mirror, the Post-it note was there and said I love you. And she started crying. Just emotionally crying. And it cost him literally nothing. It was not like a big thing he had to buy. But just the small little remembrances and reminders will help do that. Or if your husband likes his favorite food or something, cook him that amazing biryani that he likes. And just say, I just cooked this specially for you because I think you're special. But just do something special every once in a while, inshallah. Now, once a month, so somewhere number 3, once a month that you could do, is a date night. Really, a date night. If you think about it, subhanAllah, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when the Prophet ﷺ died, the day that the Prophet ﷺ died, do you know why the hadith where all this, the Sahaba were, going through this emotional state and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu came late? Do you know why he came late? It was because he had promised his wife to take her out, to do something special for her. SubhanAllah, think about it. He had promised his wife, we need to do so, I'll take you, we'll go out, just do something special. Or, maybe in the house they did something special. But that's what delayed him, and he was there, and then when he finished, he found all this going on. So SubhanAllah, doing something special for your husband and wife every once in a while, going out on a date night, doing something special. It doesn't have to be going to a restaurant. You could do something exciting. Go to a park, go visit a new place. Studies have actually shown that when they did scans on people, when they took studies of people, and they had them go to not just they had a group go to restaurants for their day night, and they had another group go to an exciting place. They took a group on and did some sort of exciting activity. They found that the group that did the activity created much more in terms of loving memories, new memories that they would be able to create together and were able to excite. So once a month or so, do something exciting, do something different. And lastly, number 4 is to make dua for happy marriage. One of the things we should constantly do in our salawat, if we're ever having a tough time in our marriage or with our kids, is to say the dua, Allahumma ja'al min azwajina wa dhurriyyatina qurrata ayuna waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. Oh Allah, grant us in our wives and in our children the coolness of our eyes and make us of the righteous, of the most righteous imams. Allahumma اجعل من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. I mean, this dua is really great. You know, me personally, whenever I'm having a tough time in my family life, I just remember this and I go into the sajda, you know, in my salah, and I make this dua, and I find that things get resolved, you know, or things get much better because I made that dua to Allah specifically to make my family the coolness of my eyes. So inshallah, you know, remember to make that dua regularly. That's very important, inshallah. So again, just to reiterate, the Prophet ﷺ, you know, with his wife Khadija and with his other wives, he loved them so much. You know, he loved them and loved them, you know, with a real love. And even though he was married to him for a long time, that love never went away. To the point where he felt secure and comfortable with Khadija radiallahu anha. And he remembered her after she passed away all the time. And we want to keep that in our marriages, inshallah, just like the Prophet ﷺ did. And there are things that we can do with that. You know, there's reasons we should do it, because it's part of our religion, and because we want to do it for our kids so that they can see this good example. And just again, those 4 things you can do every day. Tell your wife, tell your husband, I love you, and give them a hug. Number 2, do something special every week or so. Do something nice and special. Every month, do a date night, go out, do something exciting. And lastly, and most importantly, is to make dua constantly. And say that dua, Allahumma ja'al min azwajina wa dhurriyatina qurrat ayuna waj'alna lil-muttaqina imama. Jazakallah khair. I hope this benefited you. Ramadan Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.